oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. Whether it's from advancements in forensic technology or a new lead finally surfacing, there are always cold cases and mysteries being solved every year. The following are 5 disturbing mysteries that were considered unsolved until sometime within the past year. So get comfortable and welcome to reality.
Welcome back to reality.
20 years ago, Rosinava Da Silva, a woman from the Espírito Santo, Brazil, was never seen again. There's little to no information about her life before disappearing, other than both of her siblings passing away at an early age. It is also not known why the police decided to visit her mother's home unannounced 20 years after the disappearance took place. But it's very lucky that they did. I'm not sure why, but there's no sound on the police body cam footage that has been made public. Currently, both the mother and another unnamed man haven't had their identities made public, so I speculate that is at least partially the reason. But there she is. A 39-year-old Rosinava Da Silva emerges from her mother's house with chains around her. The video footage captured the moment law enforcement officers entered the premises and proceeded through a metallic door leading to a room where the woman was found. The room had minimal lighting, with the sole source being a glass window. Da Silva was then accompanied out of the residence, clutching onto a set of chains that had confined her for a period of 20 years. Officials reported that she was in a state of dehydration and hunger when they located her inside the improvised enclosure. The victim was quickly transported by paramedics to the regional hospital, where she is currently receiving medical attention for dehydration and severe malnutrition. It has been reported that the victim's mother kept her here against her will within the residence due to the mental health challenges she faced following the loss of 2 children many years ago. According to the police, the mother resorted to chaining and confining Rosinava in the room due to her aggressive behavior, perceiving it as the only viable method of managing her. The reason behind the authorities' intervention in search of the residence remains unclear. However, the police are actively investigating the possibility of other individuals being accountable for the detainment of Da Silva. Surely someone within the past 20 years noticed something. There used to be this reality TV show called America's Most Wanted. They would basically talk about fugitives and give reenactments of events.
You'll be back.
I ain't marrying someone who's gonna hit me.
It was quite dramatized.
Tracy stopped at a stoplight. He got his chance.
We got...
Rob, where did you get that gun?
Shut up.
Doing this?
Shut up!
You're crazy. Why are you doing this?
Shut up! All right? Not one word or I'm gonna blow your head off.
And very, very 90s at some points. On this show, one of the fugitives was Donald Santini. Due to his ability to evade police, he appeared in multiple episodes from 1990 to 2013. The reason he was on the run is due to events that took place on June 9th, 1984. Detectives made a discovery at around 3:30 p.m. when they located the body of Cynthia Wood, 33 years old, in a drainage ditch on Alsobrook Drive in Riverview, Florida, as stated in a press release by the sheriff's office. It was revealed that Wood had been undergoing a divorce from her husband at the time. Reports from the Associated Press indicated that Wood had been reported missing 3 days before her body was found in the ditch. Subsequent autopsy results determined that she had died from strangulation. Allegedly, Santini was the last person seen with Wood, and his fingerprints were discovered on her lifeless body. According to Wesh TV, Santini encountered Wood at a daycare center while he was picking up his girlfriend's children. Court documents obtained by the news outlet claim that Santini had expressed a desire to befriend Wood and ask her out on a date. A female witness reportedly informed authorities that Santini had confessed to strangling Wood, and disposing of her body in a canal. Consequently, Santini became the primary suspect in the case and fled from Hillsborough County. It was then that they started to feature him multiple times on America's Most Wanted. Detectives believed that Santini had sought refuge in multiple locations worldwide, including Texas, California, and Thailand, according to the Associated Press. Eventually, Santini was apprehended in California, where he had been residing under the alias Wellman Simmons and serving as the president of a local water board near San Diego. Throughout his time on the run, Santini purportedly utilized several different aliases, such as Charles Michael Stevens, Donald Chapman, and John Trimblian, as reported by WFTS-TV. In a handwritten letter addressed to KGTV-TV, Santini claimed, "The reason I've been able to run so long is to live a loving, respectful life." He also stated in the letter that he had been a volunteer for the Rotary Club, owned a Thai restaurant, and managed an apartment block. In addition to facing a first-degree murder charge, Santini was wanted by the sheriff's office for aggravated battery in Texas. He had also previously served a prison sentence for the rape of a woman during his time stationed in Germany, so his record wasn't exactly clean. Now Donald Santini, at age 65, has been caught. After 39 years and 13 different aliases, he will finally go to trial. Many agencies, including the FBI, worked extensively on this cold case for years. But apparently, it was a tip from the Florida Caribbean Regional Fugitive Task Force that led U.S. Marshals to San Diego County. Santini was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in San Diego before being extradited to Hillsborough County Jail in Tampa, Florida. This all occurred only a month ago, so please feel free to comment if there are any updates to the story and what the outcome of the trial was. Though I'm fairly positive he will be spending the rest of his life behind bars. Back in 1978, a badly decomposed body of a woman was discovered inside a garment bag in a remote area of northern Nevada. Despite efforts to solve the case, it went cold, and the victim's identity remained unknown for 45 years. However, recent advancements in DNA testing by the Nevada State Police have finally brought about a breakthrough, leading to the identification of the woman. Her name was Florence Charleston, a woman in her late 60s who had relocated from Cleveland, Ohio to Portland, Oregon shortly before her demise. The circumstances surrounding Miss Charleston's death and the fact that she was buried in a shallow grave 860 kilometers away from her new home still pose a mystery. The investigation into her death is still ongoing. Diane Liggett, one of Miss Charleston's few surviving relatives, shared that she was approximately 18 years old when her father informed her that her aunt had departed for the Pacific Northwest with a new boyfriend during the early 1970s. The family never heard from Charleston again, and over the decades, Miss Liggett often contemplated her aunt, Dolly, a childhood nickname that remained with her. She wondered about her aunt's happiness and safety, only to discover that she had passed away. Miss Charleston's remains were found in October 1978 in the town of Imlay, a small community in Nevada located about 2 hours north of Reno. Alongside the body, law enforcement officers from the Pershing County Sheriff's Office, the primary agency handling the initial investigation, discovered some pieces of women's clothing inside the garment bag. The autopsy revealed that the decomposed remains likely belonged to a woman in her middle age, but failed to establish a cause of death. According to Miss Liggett, her aunt would have been approximately 68 years old at the time of her passing. The circumstances surrounding her death and the reasons behind her burial in Nevada continue to raise questions that investigators are diligently working to answer. The case was eventually documented in the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System, accompanied by a depiction of the woman as envisioned by the detectives during the investigation into her death. Based on the records, it was believed that the woman stood at approximately 5 feet 5 inches tall, had red or auburn hair, and possibly favored her left hand. Among the clothing items discovered with her remains were a dark green sweater with a white safety pin attached to the front, dark green trousers, and a long-sleeved pink sweater. In the spring of 1979, detectives from the Nevada State Police were summoned to assist with the case. They employed digital facial reconstruction techniques, cross-referenced dental records with other missing persons and unsolved cases, and searched for any clues within the garments found alongside the remains. However, their efforts proved fruitless. In March of last year, the police joined forces with Othram Inc., a specialized private laboratory focusing on forensic genealogy analysis, renowned for its successful resolution of numerous cold cases across the country. In a separate statement, Othram disclosed that they had utilized DNA extracted from the remains to generate a comprehensive DNA profile of the unidentified woman. This breakthrough led investigators to locate two of Miss Charleston's nieces who were still residing in Ohio. Miss Liggett recounted receiving an unexpected phone call in April while she was preparing to leave her house. Despite not recognizing the out-of-state number, she answered the call. On the other end was Detective Sean Keister from the Nevada State Police, who had taken over the cold case in October 2022. By that time, the investigation had remained dormant for over 4 decades. Detective Keister introduced himself and explained that he had been trying to reach Miss Liggett and her cousin Donna to discuss a set of human remains dating back 45 years. Miss Liggett vividly recalled her response to the detective's revelation, exclaiming, "You found my Aunt Dolly?" Following that pivotal phone conversation, Othram successfully established a connection between Miss Charleston and the unidentified remains by utilizing a DNA sample provided by Miss Liggett's cousin. Now roughly the same age as her late Aunt Dolly was at the time of her passing, Miss Liggett expressed her desire to live long enough to uncover the circumstances and motives behind her aunt's untimely demise.
Did something happen to you?
I didn't mean to scare you.
In a small Canadian town near the Nation River, a local farmer made a disturbing discovery on May 3rd, 1975. Female remains were found near the Highway 417 bridge south of Castleman, approximately 55 kilometers east of Ottawa. She would later be known as the Nation River Lady. Over the years that followed, authorities worked tirelessly to solve the mystery surrounding her identity. They employed various tools, such as forensic artist renderings and advanced techniques like 3D facial approximation in 2017. A dedicated tip line was established to appeal to the public for any information that could help crack the case. Unfortunately, these efforts yielded no significant breakthroughs. In 2019, a decision was made to exhume her body, seeking a new DNA profile. The Ontario Provincial Police, in consultation with the chief coroner and experts from the Centre of Forensic Sciences in Toronto, took this crucial step. As DNA science continued to advance, a clear DNA profile was eventually obtained. In 2020, investigators turned to the DNA Doe project and searched genetic genealogy databases, leading them to successfully identify the victim almost 50 years after finding her body as Lala Parchman Langford. At the time of her death, she was 48 years old. This story has some similarities to the story I covered recently about a son who found out about his dad's past through a commercial genealogy database. I'll leave a link to that in the pinned comment. In a turn of events, the Ontario Provincial Police also announced that they had charged an 81-year-old man named Rodney Nichols, who resides in Florida, with murder. It was revealed that the victim and the accused were known to each other. Langford had traveled to Montreal in April 1975 and never returned home to the United States. Her family in Tennessee reported her missing, igniting a decades-long search. The breakthrough in this case came with a mix of determination, advanced DNA analysis, and the tireless work of investigators. C. Lauritsen, team leader at the DNA Doe project, expressed both the bittersweet nature of the discovery and the immense impact it had on Langford's family. Her mother, who had spent years searching for her missing daughter, tragically passed away without ever learning her fate. This historic moment marked the first time in Ontario that human remains from a cold case were identified through forensic genealogy. The OPP had the opportunity to meet with Langford's family and provide them with details about the investigation. After nearly 5 decades, the words, "finally home and at peace," will grace Langford's headstone, bringing solace to her loved ones and closure to a long-standing mystery. At the age of 22, Sibora went missing from Torremolinos under mysterious circumstances. Despite nearly 9 years of searching, there had been no progress in locating the young woman. Her ex-partner, Marco, was the last person known to have communicated with her. Their final contact occurred on July 7th, 2014, through a WhatsApp conversation, after which Sibora ceased all communication. Prior to her disappearance, Sibora had recently ended her relationship with Marco and relocated to a small apartment on Calahoyo Street in Torremolinos. From the outset, law enforcement treated her disappearance as a high-risk case, suggesting that she may have been in danger due to the circumstances surrounding her vanishing. Notably, Sibora had left behind her mobile phone, clothes, and all personal belongings. When Sibora's mother realized she had not heard from her daughter, with whom she had daily contact, she promptly contacted Marco. Concerned about her daughter's well-being, she inquired whether anything unusual had occurred or if he knew Sibora's whereabouts. However, Marco denied any involvement in her disappearance. He only mentioned that they had an argument a few days prior and that he had not heard from her since. Sibora had been employed in the hospitality industry in Torremolinos. Her relationship with Marco began in Nettuno, Italy in 2009, and everything seemed to be going well. They even discussed plans for marriage, prompting their move to the Costa del Sol in 2010 in search of employment opportunities. As time passed and the investigation grew cold, Marco eventually moved on and started a new relationship with Paula, with whom he had a child. However, Paula also terminated her relationship with Marco. On Wednesday, May 17th, in her apartment on Calle San Genis in La Carrejuela, she made the decision. According to reliable sources, Marco refused to leave the residence despite Paula's repeated requests for him to leave. At approximately 11:30 a.m., the neighbors heard Paula's cries for help. They promptly rushed to her apartment, but it appears that only Marco, her ex-partner, responded. According to our sources, Marco did not open the door, but tried to convince the concerned neighbors that nothing serious had occurred. He fled the scene, closing the door behind him, while the residents contacted emergency services. Earlier that morning, Paula tragically lost her life in her apartment. She sustained 14 stab wounds. Allegedly, her ex-boyfriend used a knife that he had stolen 6 days prior from the restaurant where he had been recently fired from. Following Paula's tragic incident, the missing woman's family began to harbor suspicions about the severity of the situation regarding Sibora's disappearance. In 2013, Sibora returned to Italy and sought refuge in her mother's home with a suitcase full of clothes. At the time, she announced her separation from Marco and spoke of quarrels and disagreements, but never mentioned any episodes of abuse. Sibora eventually returned to Torremolinos with her boyfriend, where they continued to cohabit for a few more months until she definitively ended the relationship. Shortly after their separation, she vanished without a trace. Eventually, Marco confessed to his involvement in Sibora's disappearance. On Monday, May 22nd, in the early afternoon, a team of approximately 20 officers, accompanied by a judicial commission, entered the 2-story apartment in the heart of Torremolinos, meticulously inspecting the home in the hopes of finding Sibora's body or any evidence that could shed light on her whereabouts. During his verbal statement to the police, Marco disclosed that Sibora's remains were concealed within the walls of the apartment they had shared. He even offered to lead the investigators to the precise location where he had hidden her body. However, it was through the efforts of the investigative team that her remains were ultimately discovered. They were found concealed inside a wooden crate positioned between two walls of the apartment. There aren't many worse ways your remains could be left, but at least now that they have been recovered, the family can have some closure, and we can all rest, knowing Marco won't be free anytime soon. If you made it here, thank you. It really means a lot to me. I hate doing this next part, but I'm obligated to express how much interacting with this video helps me, whether you subscribe, comment, like, or share. Absolutely all engagement makes a massive difference to my channel. I appreciate all of you. And until next time, keep fearing the living.